My Bible today will be KISS, which means keep it short and simple, so that you can reach dinner. Okay. They say that how the driver drives the company car, it has an effect for the whole organization's reputation. If his manner is aggressive, then it will be projected to the reputation of the whole organization, for the whole company. I think that the communication team of a court is similar to this driver. You are and they are the first interface between the public and the court. So they are these drivers who need to be projected to the whole organization. And that is why it's so important to have their communication, their use of language kept simple and to have everybody to understand. Now there is an effort in the European judges as well, the Magna Carta of judges, which says that judicial decisions shall be drafted in an accessible, simple and clear language. And for an example, let me give you this one. In 1954, there was a Supreme Court in the USA who brought a verdict of a great significance case. It was the Brown versus the Board of Education case. And the verdict said that the segregation of black and white students was against the constitutional law. In 2007, there was a rehearing of one single aspect of this whole trial. And the wording of this rehearing in 2007 consisted of 47,000 words instead of the whole verdict 50 years before. And the problem is that with these amendments, the verdicts are not more complex. They are more complex, but they are not easier to follow. They are getting more obscure. In the United States, there are milestones that focus on regulations being more accessible to those who are concerned with regulations. President Jimmy Carter signed an executive order in 1978 which said regulations to be written in plain English. Or we can remember President Clinton's memorandum from 1998, who said, it's pretty interesting actually, by using plain language, we send a clear message about what the government is doing, what it requires, and what services it offers. Plain language saves the government and the private sector time, effort, and money. Also, President Obama went over this way and he signed the Plain Writing Act with the same theory that was mentioned before. Alan Siegel, who was supposed to come today, but he couldn't manage to, said in one of his books that the main cause of overcomplication is the judiciary system itself. And you are laughing, so you agree with this remark. I'm happy to hear. And his example was that a simple credit card contract in 1980 was 1.5 page long, and today it's 31 pages. Okay, what are our problems with these small prints, as we say? That we are lacking control. We do not take the effort to read everything through, but we sign anyway because we want to save time for ourselves. And I'm sure that you are all aware of when you are using the internet and you tick boxes and press next button, you agree, a lot of agreements, you sign contracts that you are not fully aware of what's happening and what are your commitments about them. That's why we are not feeling comfortable with these small letters, parts. We are not comfortable with amendments, but we want to do our way simple. That's why we still agree and sign them. However, The task would be something similar to this. The task is to communicate in the language of the public instead of technical terms. The essential is for them to understand rather than have everything in writing. We all know the term or the question from films that, do you understand the verdict? This is a symbolic question because it's not obvious that people do understand what the verdicts are. Let's watch now a video of a judge and let's see his clear line of action. It's a bit long.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
The charge was speeding, sir. Have you been driving for 3 years?
No, I've not been driving in the U.S. for 3 years. No, but I've been driving in Africa before the U.S. So I just get my U.S. license like 6 months ago.
Oh, you celebrated by speeding.
No, I didn't see no speed sign on Harris Avenue, and that was the way from Harris to Providence Place, like towards Providence Place Mall. I didn't see no sign, so I thought that was like 30, the speed limits and something like that. But when the cop stopped me, he told me that the speed limit was 25. And then he gave me a ticket and told me that I was driving 35. So, but he wrote 38 on the ticket.
No, he wrote 35.
Oh, okay. I saw another 38 on the side. I don't know what it means. So.
Yeah. Now, you received a driver's license in Rhode Island, right?
Yes.
And you had to study the book, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And then in that book, did you read that unless otherwise posted that the speed limit within the city limits is 25? You didn't read that chapter?
Yes.
Oh, you read that?
I read that, but there are some other places in the.
Everyone read it, Judge.
Yeah. I read that. I read the book. That's why I
But
get
they
my
mean
license.
anything.
You know, but I was with my wife and my 2 babies. They're over there.
Where are
you know,
they?
So I was.
Where are they? Oh, bring them up here. Come here.
You know, I was with all of them.
Get them up here.
I was with all of them, and I didn't feel like I was speeding because I was just following the cars in front of me. But when he stopped me, I just pulled over. I didn't know why he stopped me, but he told me that I was speeding.
Yeah.
But I was not very looking at my speed when I was driving.
Yeah. Were you in the
He was in the car too.
Were you in the car with him?
Yes, I was in the passenger seat.
Oh, did you tell him to slow down?
Well, I didn't feel like we were, exceeding too much over the limit.
Not too much.
No,
just a little.
Yeah, just a little. I didn't.
No, she.
Now we found the honest one. He wasn't looking at the odometer. She felt it.
Who else was in the car?
It just the baby.
Oh, now endangerment of a child as well.
Yeah, and he wouldn't. Well, I mean, he wouldn't go over the speed limit,
So-
excessively, knowing that the family was in the car.
I got it. All right. So he endangered your wife, the mother of the child, right, and the child. Right? Is that what he did?
No, he did not
He
do
did
that.
not. Oh, okay. And who's this little guy?
This is our other son,
What's his name?
Menelik.
Hi. Look up here.
Look at the
Say hi. Hi. All right, come up here. Bring him up here. I want to ask him a question.
Watch your step in the middle.
Over here. No, you stay there. You get back over there. I'm going to ask you 2 questions, okay?
Okay.
And you're going to say one or the other. Now, we're talking about your father, right? Now, you're going to say guilty or not guilty. What do you say?
Guilty.
Guilty. An honest boy. Shake hands. Good work. Okay, you can go back.
Okay, probably this part is enough. It's an unusual way of judging a case. In the recent past, in Hungary, there was a significant political case that kept the country in state of excitement for a few days. During a demonstration, paint was thrown to the palace of the president. And the proceedings against the activists were followed by the whole country. And there was a live coverage in the court, in the building, by the activists who could get in. So these type of new elements, which we just seen before, and this one as well, shows us that the judge need to entirely new role onto the judge, having to express himself to a much larger audience. So it needs a new way of communication, be more clear and be more simple, so to say. But it's not easy to do so. It's not easy to be simple. Let's remember to Mark Twain's quote who said, "It usually takes me more than 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech." Or the other way that we have listened to this morning, which says, "I would have written a shorter letter, but I did not have the time," which is from Pascal. But not only, we need to speak on the level of the recipients, and it's not easy to get, not only the level, but the situation, how these information will be used. We find to follow pretty easy to safety instructions on an airplane when everything is fine, when business is normal. But if it lowers very quickly, then we won't be able to follow this instruction too easily. And also, it's difficult to find the exit when there is a fire in the hotel. However, we can follow the instructions when there is not. So we need to consider the perspective of the recipient when we like to communicate in an understandable and comprehensive way. The problem is that sometimes we do know more than it's enough for the recipient. We want to tell more, and that is what Albert Einstein reacts by saying, if you can't understand enough, you won't explain it well. And now, just for the sake of fun and to show you some perspective, I give you a sort of a quiz. Who knows what this is, or what are your bets? I can't hear. Any bets? No bets. Okay, this is wooden. Actually, it's made of wood. It's a map. It's an Inuit map, but it's not visual. It's tactile, because when it's a big cold in the north, they put these into the gloves, and they can feel the coast of the line rather than see the map and try to visualize it. And there is another interesting map to show. The only unusual thing with it that it puts Africa in the middle. It's just unusual for us because we usually put Europe in the middle and we check the world map like this. And for the last of this type of example, it's a medieval tapestry, which is in real life, it's plenty of rooms long, it's very long. And it shows us a battle scene. And the interesting thing is that we don't know which enemy is against who, because it depends whether we read from the right to left or the left to right. So we are changing perspective, and when we try to communicate, we try to get the other's part, the recipient's perspective, and this would be the task for communication with the public. Clarity can be realized if we are able to concentrate and filter the essence, be sympathetic, be with empathy with the recipient, and we try to express ourselves in a simple language, in a simple way. And with these three things, we can use clarity in our communication. Obviously, the situation in the case of the courts is complicated because we have to communicate with plenty of parties with different backgrounds. The press, the public, the suspects, the client sometimes, or the prosecution. They all need to be talked into a different way. And our task is to filter the essence, to find the essence in every type of communication. And for this, I give you another example. they say that if you can't shout your headline through a noisy kitchen, then the headline is not good enough. And the journalist went to a school and he taught journalism. And the first task was that he put these information on the blackboard, and I ask you to read them through. And he asked the students to write good headlines or good leads from it, which are responding the essence of this paragraph. And no one could solve the best solution or found the best headline, which would be this. Yeah. This is the important part, not the rest. All the teachers going away, it's fine, no school on Thursday. Okay. When does a text work? When do we have a good text for communication? In case it's understandable, it's recallable or easy to memorize. If it's focusing on the essence, it needs to be short in a way, and it needs to have a logical structure. And we do have tools in writing that we can use for a good press release. Balázs said a lot about press releases and the structure of press releases. We can use leads, bullet points, sub-headlines, quotations, which are more easy to understand and easy to follow, or metaphors. But I would like to state that there are more tools that are not with language or not with grammar. For example, in today's modern communication, we are not limited to text. For example, we have infographics that are able to depict complex correlations in a single picture. It can be used in the communication of law and in the communication of court. Or on the other hand, we have explanation videos that I show you some examples now. I know that you watched the Doppler effect today, or a part of it. Now I show you a part of Einstein's relativity theory, in short.
Hi. So you want a simple guide to the theory of relativity? Great, you've come to the right place. Part 1. Classical relativity. Let's start with some absolutes that we need to accept. 1. There is no such thing as absolute motion or absolute rest. Objects move relative to each other. For example, look at the truck with two kids playing catch. The truck is moving at a constant speed of 50 miles per hour, but as the kids are also moving with it at 50 miles per hour, they could easily think that they are standing still.
I'm sure every one of us could follow from here. Probably I will be the one who won't. And I show you another one which is regarded to courts themselves. It's from Australia.
How should I behave in court in Australia? Going to court can be daunting. Having an idea of what to expect will ensure that you are prepared and know how to behave appropriately. Courts are formal places, and certain rules of etiquette apply to anyone who enters, as is the case in any other formal setting, such as workplaces and educational facilities. You are expected to be respectful, and you must behave appropriately at all times. You may be asked by the magistrate or judge to leave the court if you dress or behave inappropriately.
Okay, it's pretty long, but a good tool again to see that you can use this type of communication as well. And finally, I show you wasn't you wanted to see through or what? Okay, sorry, I just heard some noise and I thought that everybody's excited. What's the third one? Which is a completely different story, but it shows that you don't need to be a developer or designer. You can use paper cuts and a flip chart, magnetic flip chart, to do a nice explanation video on complex topics.
I'm sure you've heard the buzz. Social media may be the next big thing. What's it all about? This is social media in plain English. Let's take a visit to Scoopville, a town that's famous for ice cream. For over 20 years, Big Ice Cream Company has been making high-quality ice cream with a big factory in town.
Okay, the only thing you need to know is that you need to filter the essence, what you want to say, the main message. And if you have the main message, you can build a communication on that using these kind of tools as well, infographics, explanation videos. And there is a way to check your text or your communication. For example, to put them in a readability check, or you can follow recommendations, how long an English wording should be, or a sentence, how long should it be, how many words it can contain. So if you are not sure whether your communication is can be well understood or readable, then you can go through the internet and use these type of softwares and tools as well. Or as we jokingly say there is a good way to check whether your text is understandable, and you need to ask the old lady next door, because if our grandma understands it, you said the same? No. Okay. So this is a good way to check clarity and readability. As a conclusion, let's watch a video about, it's a true story about Edison, and which tells us about the power of words.
Hi, Mom.
Hello, my dear. How are things at school?
A letter for you.
Your son is a genius. The school is too small for him and doesn't have enough good teachers for training him. Please, teach him yourself.
Sorry, we show it to you later because you won't hear it, so that's why it doesn't work. Sorry. Anyway, you can watch it later. In this short speech, my intention was to illuminate that fact that to create simple language is the most important, is to understand the perspective of the recipient, be it the press, the suspect, or the public. And finally, let's watch a video which I hope will work for us. And it illustrates that the problem are arising from the lack of communication in a common language.
Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät und das Gerät. Überlebensradar.
Mayday, mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
Okay. Thank you for listening.